everybody! This is Music for Teaching, where we use music to teach music, and a lot of other things too. Now you may know that in music, these two numbers on top of each other together are called a time signature. But do you really know what each number means? Well, the top number is pretty easy actually. It tells you how many beats or counts are in each measure of music. Measures, also known as bars, break up the music into smaller pieces in order to make it easier to play and rehearse. Now if the top number is a 4, we count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. But what about the bottom number? Well, that is telling you which type of note is getting one beat. Now let's look at the most popular time signature, 4/4 time. It's also known as common time. Well, that's right. It's so common, most composers just write a letter C instead of the numbers. Now this started way back in the olden days when music was written by hand. Yes, and it could be pretty hard to read sometimes. Now, before the printing press was invented, every copy that was made of a piece of music was written by hand as well. All right, the history lesson's over. Let's sing a song to help us learn what the numbers mean in the time signature. Now that we changed the bottom number, here we go. You got a 4 on the bottom quarter note gets 1 beat. You got a 4 on the bottom half note gets 2 beat. You got a 4 on the bottom whole note gets 4 beat. You got a 4 on the bottom 2, 8 notes in a beat. Oh yeah. You got a 2 on the bottom half note gets 1 beat. You got a 2 on the bottom whole note gets 2 beat. On the bottom 2 quarters in a beat, oh yeah. You got a 1 on the bottom whole note gets 1 beat. You got a 1 on the bottom 2 half notes in a beat. You got a 1 on the bottom 4 quarters in a beat, oh yeah. You got an 8 on the bottom, the 8th note gets 1 beat. You got an 8 on the bottom quarter note gets 2 beats. You got an 8 on the bottom half note gets 4 beats, oh yeah. Now let's talk about the top number for a little bit. Now there are 3 numbers you'll often see on the top of the time signature: a 2, a 3, or a 4. And they tell you the meter of the piece of music. Now 2/4 time is called duple meter because duple means 2. Yeah, that's a good example. A duplex is like 2 houses in 1. Here's an example of duple time. Now, 3/4 time is called triple meter because it's groupings of 3. Yeah, I guess it would be like a triple play in baseball. What does that look like?
Ground ball to third. Back tapping the bag 1. That's a second ball 3. Oh, yes indeed, the Red Sox turn a triple play.
Whoa, you don't see that very often, do you? Here's an example of 3/4 time or triple meter. All right, now let's go back to common time or 4/4 time. Now it's also known as quadruple meter because quadruple means 4. Yeah, that's a very good example of quadruple. A quadruple, or a quad in figure skating, is 4 turns in one jump. Let's see what that looks like.
Quadlets, triple toe. Oh, there it was.
That's impossible. All right, here's an example of quadruple time, 4/4 time. So there's the basics of what a time signature is. Now let's sing one more song just to make sure we remember what the top and bottom number means in a time signature. Here we go. Ready, and you got 4 on the bottom quarter note gets 1 beat. You got 4 on the bottom quarter note gets 1 beat. You got a 2 on the bottom half note gets 1 beat. You got a 2 on the bottom half note gets 1 beat. You got a 1 on the bottom whole note gets 1 beat. You got a 1 on the bottom whole note gets 1 beat. You got an 8 on the bottom 8 note gets 1 beat. You got an 8 on the bottom 8 note gets 1 beat. Oh yeah. Well, I hope that now you have a basic understanding of how a time signature works. But before we end this video, I need to talk about this guy behind me, Ludwig van Beethoven. If you haven't heard of him, you need to check him out. He wrote some of the greatest music of all time, and all the musical examples on the screen were written by him as well. All right, guys, take care. See ya. All right, everybody, it's time to see what you learned from the video. Go ahead and get yourself a pencil and paper, and if you need to pause the video, go ahead. And we're going to get started with 10 multiple choice questions. Here's number 1. What are the smaller sections of a musical staff called in written music? Check all that apply. A. Bars. B. Time signatures. C. Measures. D. Clefs. Number 2. The top number of the time signature represents the blank. A. Note value that receives 1 beat. B. Number of notes in a measure. C. Number of beats in a measure. D. Number of words in a measure. Number 3. The bottom number of the time signature represents the blank. A. Note value that receives 1 beat. B. Number of notes in a measure. C. Number of beats in a measure. D. Number of words in a measure. Number 4. 4/4 time is also known as blank. A. Regular time. B. Simple time. C. Common time. D. Compound time. Number 5. If 2 is the bottom number of a time signature, which note receives 1 beat? A. Quarter. B. Eighth. C. Whole. D. Half. Number 6. If 4 is the bottom number of a time signature, which note receives 1 beat? A. Quarter. B. Eighth. C. Whole. D. Half. Number 7. If 8 is the bottom number of a time signature, which note receives 1 beat? A. Quarter. B. Eighth. C. Whole. D. Half. Number 8. If 1 is the bottom number of a time signature, which note receives 1 beat? A. Quarter. B. Eighth. C. Whole. D. Half. Number 9. A 3/4 time signature represents blank meter. A. Duple. B. Triple. C. Quadruple. D. Septuple. And number 10. A 4/4 time signature represents blank meter. A. Duple. B. Triple. C. Quadruple. D. Septuple. All right, Check your answers in the description of the video. Hope you did well.